Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started in just one minute. Try to get started right at 6 o'clock. I'm going to share a little bit around expectations for District 25 this year, and then get some feedback from you guys, hopefully, in the process. So get started in just 1 minute. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first stop in our district Listening to Learn tour. My name is Dr. Michael D'Antona. I am the acting superintendent for District 25. We are a couple of weeks into this space and this role for myself. I'm super excited to be here. One part of this is for me to connect with you guys in the community, but more importantly, for you guys to share some feedback with me around the things that are going on really well in District 25, the things that we need to be mindful of to support improved outcomes, and then any advice that you would layer in there for me to consider to make sure that I'm doing a really good job on behalf of your kids in District 25. So before we get started, I do want to acknowledge Mr. Chabot, interim acting principal here at BS 214. Mr. Chabot has been gracious enough to open up this space and extend those invitations to all of you for me to be here to talk a little bit around the priorities that we've set for District 25 this school year. So the rollout of tonight's meeting will be me talking to you a little bit about our expectations as a district, the goals that we've set, and then an opportunity towards the latter part of it for you to share a little bit of that feedback that I just mentioned. So, having said that, we're going to get started with just around welcome back to school. I'm hoping that you guys have all had a pleasant beginning to the start of the school year. For myself and the rest of our team who are here, we engage in visits to every single one of our schools. I myself visit on the first 2 days, upwards of a dozen schools myself to make sure that I can connect with kids, visit with our building leaders, connect with some of our parents that I was able to see during those visits to make sure that we had a really, really good opening. And I'm pleased to say that while there are always a couple of little bumps, for the most part, we had a very successful opening to the start of the 23-24 school year. So just on this next slide, there are just some images. We had our balloon arches, we had our welcome moments. We had one of our schools created a nice little theme that you can see there for our Nemo theme, and our principal is actually in the audience who created our Nemo theme. We had an ice cream truck in one of our buildings. I got to visit pre-K, a 3K pre-K site, and there's nothing more exciting, I have to be quite honest, than going into a 3K classroom. I've never gone into one of those rooms and come out doing anything other than smiling. So that was part of our visits, and we did have a really, really nice start to the school year. I want to give you a little bit of an idea of who I am. I am someone who's been an educator for 25 years. This is my 26th year in the New York City public school system. I earned my doctorate degree at St. John's University in 2015 in supervision and administration. Sports, I am a huge sports nut. So if you're going to talk to me about anything sports related, I will probably engage with you in a conversation. Knicks, Islanders, Jets, Yankees, my big sports teams. I am a parent. I have 2 children, as you can see on the screen. That's my wife, Jennifer, on the screen as well. Matthew and Emily mean a tremendously large amount to me. As many of you guys know as parents, that's what happens when you have children. We love them unconditionally. And I also can tell you that, like you, I go through the same struggles of being a parent. Just because I'm an educator doesn't mean that I always have the best or the right answer to everything. But I will say that, the amount of hair that I have left on my head is a struggle on a daily basis to keep it there. Because I have a 7th grader and a 9th grader right now. So those daily conversations that you have around, did you do your homework, is something I have to do with my kids every single day, very much like you do. So some of my core beliefs, I am really very big on learning and learning from the space for myself and anyone else that's around me. If we're in the job of education, we never stop learning. And the reason why we never stop learning is because we have children in front of us every single day that need us to get better at our jobs so that they have more opportunities to be successful. So one of my core beliefs is that we stay learners. Whether you are an acting superintendent, you are a deputy superintendent, you're a principal, assistant principal, teacher, that we all take on this phase of being a learner with the idea that we're going to learn to help our kids improve. So that's one of my first core beliefs in regards to this particular slide. The rest of them all talk about use of data and how do we use information to make really good choices. So as you look down that list, and I'm not going to read all of them to you, they say very similar things around using information to make good instructional decisions. And that's one of my core beliefs around going through these cycles of learning to support us as educators. The last one that I do want to call out that's really super important is around expectations. When we have really high expectations for children, they will work to meet those expectations. If our expectations are low, then our children are going to reach for those low expectations. So for me as a leader, one of the things that I am going to continue to push on everyone that is within earshot of me is that we have to have high expectations for our children. High expectations in terms of the tasks we provide, high expectations for what we're expecting for them to complete. Not just that we give them a task, but that we're holding them accountable for reaching towards those heights. So New York City Public School mission, this is something that that Chancellor Banks has recently shared with New York City and our communities. I did want to post this here just for you to make sure that you can see, as it does say a lot in just a few words. So Chancellor Banks' mission for New York City Public Schools is to ensure that each student graduates on a pathway to a rewarding career and long-term economic security, equipped to be a positive force for change. Now, if you start unpacking each of those words, we can pause on a lot of them. What do we mean when we say equipped? What do we mean when we say positive force for change? And a lot of this language that you see in here is very much related to our district vision statement. So what we believe here in District 25 is that our role is to create really strong foundations for our kids. Foundations that you're going to see in our priorities in a few moments, but those priorities are built around this collaborative effort from all of our members. Whether, again, you are an administrator or a teacher or a parent or a student, that we're engaging in this collaborative effort for improvement, which is basically, in a nutshell, what this district vision is really about. Providing opportunities for student voice, providing opportunities to celebrate the diversity that's within our amazing district, and then also being mindful of what is needed to make sure all of our kids have access to high-quality learning experiences. So when we're talking about the Chancellor's mission, much of the language that's there, you're going to find inside of our image and what we've been growing towards over the past 8 years as a district, when the district really came back together 8 years ago. What I'm going to be asking all of our community members to do is really take a look at this vision statement, to kind of talk to me about what does it actually say to you? Does it say to you that we're building strong foundations? Are there things that we need to really be paying attention to so we can adjust this vision to be more aligned perhaps with things that are currently happening in and around District 25? So more to follow on that, but I do ask that you pay attention to this vision statement and offer feedback. If there are things in here that are not clear, you certainly have an opportunity to please let us know so we can make adjustments. Now, our mission statement is long. I'm not going to read through all of that, but what I do want to kind of point out as part of our mission statement is that, our goal is really to promote experiences for kids where they're engaging in critical thinking, problem solving, in a space where their social emotional needs are being met on a daily basis. And inside of that space, making sure that we're celebrating that diversity that is within our community. Okay? So Team Awesome is what we typically go by and we have gone by for a really long time. That's what we refer to in terms of our team. In this presentation, there is a little card that Ms. Martin shared with you guys to access this presentation. The link that's on this page will bring you to the next series of slides that I'm going to share with you, just so that you have an idea of who is on our district team and the things and the roles that they support. So in district, obviously I mentioned to you, I am the acting superintendent for the district and I oversee the support for the 34 schools that we have, and 2 pre-K centers in District 25. Ms. Mitchell is all things facilities, student services related. So anything that's going on in our schools, whenever there's an issue of that sort, our buildings connect with Ms. Mitchell to provide those supports. Mr. Latito is all things related to our district. So anything that any of our buildings need, Mr. Latito is our point person to make sure that those connections are made, and is our tech guru who makes sure that this is accessible not only here, but also virtually for all of our families to see. Also the designer of the website, where you will see a number of these things that I'm sharing with you today. We have a pretty big instructional team that are focused on, particularly this year, some of our priorities, which I'll talk to you about in a few moments, but really focused around literacy, mathematics, social studies, and so on. We have team members that connect with each of those areas. I'm not going to read to you each of their bios, but this is here in the event that you do want to see who it is that's supporting our schools across District 25. We have instructional leads focused on literacy. Beth Eaton is our math point. We also have leaders that are focused on English language learners, academic intervention services for children that are in need of additional support, one of them being here right now. Ms. Bergman is one of our AIS coordinators that helps support our kids, particularly in our early childhood grades, with making sure that reading is accessible to them in those grade levels. Diana Stein is our mental health and wellness, point person, really connecting around physical education, as well as a program called Mind Up, which I'm going to talk to you guys in a few minutes when we get to that priority. We have 2 new members to our team. Amanda and Blair are going to be focused on supporting the rollout of our new curriculum that we're using across District 25. I'll mention a little bit more about what they do shortly. Debbie Winkler really supports our English language learners as well, and our building leaders with the Danielson framework, which is the tool to support improved instruction in our classrooms. Tracy Vaughn is our APA. She does all things data related in District 25, including programming, to make sure that our kids are in the correct programs across the school year. And then we have a few of our folks that are connected to special ed and L compliance to make sure that our children are receiving the services that they are due. Greg and Wing, who is here also translating. Where are you, Wing? Wing is here also supporting us, translating for us tonight, who is our district social worker, providing supports to families in need for any of that outreach and organizational support that might be necessary for their families. Greg supports our student services, social emotional learning for our community and for our building leaders and students. We do have a district attendance coordinator who does connect with our building attendance points with a focus on making sure that our kids are in school on a daily basis, something that you're going to hear me talk a lot about during the course of the year, because one thing that is pretty clear to me is that when our kids are not in school, they cannot possibly learn. That doesn't mean that we send our children in when they're sick, but making sure that all of those other opportunities that they're in the building ready to learn in our classrooms. Janet is my administrative assistant. She supports scheduling, all things related to my role as superintendent. Ms. Martin is our community coordinator, who supports these types of events that you see here, creating all the flyers and things that are related to this. Supported a New York City Reads event where we had at the beginning of the school year, we had almost 1,000 children and adults go to Casino Park, where we gave away books. More to follow on that, because we're going to be doing more events like that, so please stay tuned. Love to see you guys there at the future ones. But that's something that Marissa takes care of in her role for our district. And then we have Esther and Jenny, our family support folks. Esther is here with us tonight, not only supporting translation, but to be there for any of our families that have questions or concerns. Esther is one of our point people for the district, so you can always reach out. Esther is always a listening ear and will always share information with me around things that I need to know to help support you as families. Jenny is also participates in this type of role as well. One of the things that we're fortunate enough is that we do have Spanish and Chinese speaking folks for those that may need translation also at the district office. So during this tour, we're going to be visiting a number of sites, this being our first in-school tour. We're going to be visiting PS 20, 129, 164, 184, and 185 in addition to tonight, to make sure that we get the word out around our district priorities, and as I mentioned, to get some feedback from you. All of these links are available to you and on our district site. So if you want to join another one, you're welcome to join as many as you'd like during this tour to provide us with additional feedback. So as a district, last year, something that my predecessor, now Chief Domingo, organized was a 90-day plan. My 90-day plan will be released to you guys in the coming days. So you can see the things that we're looking to put out there in terms of district-wide improvement. The focus last year was around excellence, equity, diversity, wellness and safety, and engagement and empowerment. That mindset is going to continue with a few more things that we're going to be paying attention to as a district. Those areas are MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. That's really about making sure that our kids in classrooms receive what they need to be successful. Aligned professional learning, so that the things that we're asking our schools to do, we're providing those supports not only from our district, but from other organizations that are going to be supporting implementation of our curriculum this year. Shared and inclusive curriculum. In District 25, all schools will be implementing HMH. For kindergarten through 5th grade, it is the Into Reading program. For children in grades 6 through 8, we'll be implementing the Into Literature program. Something I'm really, really excited about, because now, unlike in past years, we can have common conversations around instruction across every single school in our district, which is unlike something that we've been able to do for quite a while. And the last part is partnering with the community. One of those elements of partnering is engaging in these types of visits, but also opening up events that align with our goals as a district. I know that, as a parent, sometimes going to an event and a workshop can be a task that is a bit arduous. We want to make sure that those experiences are coupled with something that's exciting for our kids to be around as well, so that we can work together and collaboratively on building towards our goals of strong roots, strong schools. So please, by the way, as you see the Bitmojis, if there's one that you really like, please let me know. We'll make sure that we add them to future presentations. Last year, we talked about starting off strong. This year, we're talking about starting off stronger. The context of this idea of stronger is really around this space of learning that we've asked all of our schools to do last year. It's really a focus on looking at the information we know about our kids to make really strong decisions. The E and the R, which we're going to be paying attention to this year, is around evaluating and studying and responding with action. Meaning, as we're engaging in the rollout of our curriculum and instruction, that as a collective group in a school, that we're paying attention to the things that are working and paying attention to the things that might not be working to make really good decisions about what's next. So this last part of our work is really super important in making sure that those strong roots get even stronger inside of our schools. Oh my goodness, who's calling me? Please stop. Okay. Our district areas of focus, we have broken this up into grade bands, K through 3, 3 to 5, and then 6 to 8. In our early childhood classrooms, there are multiple programs that we're going to be asking to be implemented in our district. In K to 3, there'll be Foundations Integrity. Those are phonemic awareness and phonics program, really important to build those foundational spaces for our kids as readers. In addition, the HMH Into Reading program will be implemented as well across classrooms in District 25. You will also see across each of the grade bands the Mind Up SEL program. Every single school in District 25 will be implementing this program to support the social emotional needs of our children. And basically, in a nutshell, there are a bunch of lessons that correspond with kids making responsible decisions, kids being able to manage their own behaviors, being aware of their surroundings, but also learning how to take brain breaks. And there are times during the day, if our kids have just come back from recess and they're really ramped up and revved up, these brain breaks allow them to just get back into a calm space where they can engage in learning. When our bodies are in a space of flux, it's hard for us to get to a space where we can actually listen and hear the instruction from our teachers. So these will be strategically placed inside of our lessons to make sure that our kids are as ready to learn as possible. Early childhood is really in the space of learning to read. Grades 3 and up is really in that space of reading to learn. So our kids across our classrooms will be engaging in this work through the implementation of our HMH curriculum, as well as strategic supports through those multi-tiered systems of support that I mentioned earlier. So our priorities, I'm not going to spend too much time on the shifts because it's part of what I've already been talking about, but New York City has put out a series of instructional shifts that we're going to be paying attention to in the form of building those phonics skills, building the phonemic awareness skills of our kids, making sure that our children have opportunities at small group instruction as needed inside of our classrooms, and that instruction is explicit and very clear to support the targets that we have on a daily basis. And in terms of our priorities, there are 5, and then plus 1 in terms of chronic absenteeism. These 5 priorities are aligned with Chancellor Banks and his expectations for districts across the city. The first one being all children learn to read well. You'll notice that the things that we've identified here in terms of areas of focus are also embedded inside of our goals. Implementation of foundations, integrity, and HMH is going to be the lever that we really focus on to build reading outcomes for our children. The goal is by the end of this year that we improve by a minimum of 5% in terms of outcomes for our children in District 25, particularly in grades K through 2. Priority 2, all children are physically and emotionally safe. This is a goal that is really important to us as well. As I mentioned, Mind Up will be implemented across our classrooms. One of the things as we looked at our information across our schools was that the number of level 3, 4, and 5 infractions in district are things that we wanted to reduce, many of which are of the like during recess, who has the ball, I want the ball, and then it results in those minor infractions between children. So part of the implementation of Mind Up is to make sure that our kids learn how to make really good choices to avoid some of those behaviors inside of our schools. Priority 3, all students have a high quality academic experience, very much aligned with our district focus areas. This is going to be attending to the implementation of HMH for children in grades 3 and up. Again, goal of improving by a minimum of 5% between now and the end of the school year, as measured by our New York State assessments. Focus on lesson design, focus on small group instruction inside of our classrooms. Priority 4, this is a goal that's really something we've been paying attention to for quite a while, around algebra readiness. We do want to have as many of our kids to have access to Regents coursework by the time they get into 8th grade as we possibly can. But it's not just about, am I clicking? I'm sorry. It's not just about being able to take the Regents. It's really about making sure that our kids are prepared for the algebra Regents. So what we have seen over the course of the years and last year, although we met the expectations that we set in terms of our goal for the number of children earning an 80 and above on the Algebra 1 Regents, we still had a number of children not necessarily meeting that benchmark. So we do want to connect with our data with our kids and our staff from grades 5 and up to really start building from those upper grades in elementary school through middle school so that our kids are as prepared as possible to engage in that Regents assessment. And lastly, this is around our parent engagement space. In district, school survey data is awfully high. You know, our parents tend to, in our school surveys, indicate that our schools are doing pretty well. Schools from 97 to 98% approval rates in a number of areas. The one that tended to be on the lower side was parent involvement, which was at a 90% favorable rate across our district schools. So our goal, as I mentioned earlier, is to kind of really build in these opportunities as much as we can across our buildings to give parents opportunities to participate with their kids in other ways. So New York City Reads at the beginning of the year was one way that we did that. We're going to bring that in again. You'll see in the coming days, outreach to all of you around 2 more events that are going to be happening in October to connect with your kids, to connect with the community around reading. Reading is going to be a big part of the conversations that you're going to hear me talk about, that you're going to hear our building leaders talk about, that you're going to hear our teachers talk about, to make sure that our kids are ready. And you know, my son, who I always talk about, and if he ever watches this, I'm sure I'm going to get in trouble. But it's often a common conversation that I have with him. You know, so what are you reading today? What did you read today? And it's a struggle that sometimes I have myself, you know, to make sure that my own children are picking up those books. And it's about really promoting that positive sense of why reading is so important and why reading is so exciting when you pick up that book and start to have an opportunity to wonder. That's important for our children at the earliest of ages to enjoy. And when we have these events, it's about taking advantage of them, grabbing those books that we're offering, sitting with our children and reading with them, really creates and promotes that atmosphere. So that's what we're going to really try to do this year, as much as we possibly can, to connect you as families with your children in exciting ways as the year goes on. So this brings me to the time of the show to start gathering some feedback from you guys and or questions regarding the things that I just shared with you around our district priorities. And there are going to be 3 questions, and they're relatively simple. What are some of the strengths that you believe that we have in District 25? What are some of the areas that we need to improve? And then any advice that you would have for me as a new acting superintendent for this district. So I'll just give you a moment of pause, and any of our folks that are on the computer at home, you can certainly add that in 2 ways, in multiple ways rather. There is a site, event at d25.nyc is a place that you can email. There's also a Google link here for anyone that wants to type into a Google form around the feedback that you would that you'd like to provide me. And one thing that I will say is that as I continue to go on these tours, I'm going to start adding to this presentation for everyone to see what was some of the feedback that we did get from our community, and then a response from me in terms of what it is that I've heard and what it is that we're going to think about and do next as a result. The only reason you give feedback is that you're going to do something with it. I'm not asking you guys so that I can just hear it. The goal is to hear what it is that you're saying, and then in some way, shape, or form have some kind of a response or action to it. So what are we doing well is our first one, and you can see my other little Bitmoji here with the I got this. What areas do we need to strengthen? And then what advice do you give me? I invite you guys to please share. We have our microphone ready to go. We can certainly hand it over to you for anyone that wishes to kind of convey anything that you believe we're doing well as a district. Would love to hear from you guys if you're willing to share a response, whether digitally or in person. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. So I'm going to speak from both sides of being a parent in District 25 and being an educator in District 25. I really appreciate the supports that are in place for us as educators within District 25. There's a lot of professional learning. There are a lot of wonderful providers supporting administrators. The instructional leads are fantastic, and it's easy to get in touch with them and ask questions, and they're just willing to come in and really help us with questions and concerns and just really help out. So that's as as an educator, as a parent, the transparency, and also the communication. There's a lot of communication. As a parent, I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Joanna. Anyone else? I invite you to please say more. Mr. Abbott, I don't know how you got that mic, but thank you for taking on the role of handing it out to anyone else that might want to have that might have something to add. Thank you, Mr. Abbott. You did not know this was going to happen to you tonight, did you?
Yeah. It was a show.
The cohesiveness of the staff, that everyone's on board. There's full 200% communication between the educators, the parents, custodians, if they call, but the physical of it, that everyone is aware and tuned above and beyond, and they all are apprised minute by minute. That's what we are.
Thank you so much for that. And what I've been hearing on a couple of visits, I did this with teachers across our district. We had hundreds of our teachers in District 25 engaged in a similar type of process via Zoom. And one of the things that did come up a number of times, which does make me proud, is that the idea of communication and transparency did come up as a positive in a number of responses. So that's something that, even though it is identified as an area that has been going pretty well, that we're going to continue to adjust and evolve around so that everyone has what they need in terms of communication and transparency. The more that you guys know, the better choices that you can make as families too. So wherever we can offer that, that's what we do intend to do. So thank you for that. Any other comments around district strengths? I also invite you to add any areas that we need to strengthen. And I know that there are many, I'm sure, that you can probably think of for yourself as a parent, for your children that are either with you or waiting at home for you. Things that you believe, just as a district, that we need to be conscious of. Things that we need to organize, to strengthen and improve upon. So I invite any of you to please feel free to share anything that you believe we need to attend to, or continue to attend to, or attend to better, to improve upon our work as a district team this school year. Anyone have any comments or recommendations yet? Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of training opportunities this school year, Joanna. So from the space of not only district support, we have meetings that are going to be happening throughout the year that are directly related to our goals. So we have our 2 AIS coordinators that are going to be meeting with our schools on an individual basis, coming in, pushing into classrooms, supporting the implementation of Hegarty and Foundations. That's going to be happening across all of our elementary schools. We're going to be offering opportunities for our building leaders, plus a lead teacher in every single one of our schools, to connect with our team to support improved practice within the implementation of HMH. And then every single school is going to receive professional learning opportunities from an organization that's going to connect with every single building, with upwards of a minimum of 17 professional learning days across every single school, with a direct focus on improving and supporting instruction inside of our classrooms, particularly as we roll out this new program in our schools. So it is going to be something that we attend to quite a bit, in addition to the mathematics component, in addition to Mind Up. So there'll be supports, professional learning supports, that are available to all of our schools in each of our priorities throughout the school year. But thank you for that. Any other suggestions, recommendations, things that you're thinking about? I see some other folks that are teachers, but also parents in our community too, so feel free to throw out any recommendations that you may have for us as a district community. Always welcome in terms of feedback. Oh, we have the yes.
I can't speak much for District 25, but I can speak for the PS 214. Basically, I'm going to go back to the previous one and to this. One of the strong points that me and my wife really appreciate is about the school is that it really feels from top down that it's family oriented. From Ms. Fusillo, Ms. Warren, principal, and all the teachers, it just feels, I don't know, it's because the school not so big. It feels very, like everyone's aware of the communication. They have a lot of programs, which sometimes in the news you hear they're cutting back on programs, but at least here, I remember last year we had the cast. My daughter had a great time performing. They had the Chinese one that my son participated in. I forgot the name right now. Casa, there we go. So they have a lot of different programs that sometimes I hear, and I know it helps a lot for children to develop it. Just having fun, like the music, the art, all these type of things that sometimes you're on TV, I don't know, like everybody, but thankfully here we haven't seen any of that. So that's something that we're grateful for. And areas basically areas that we need to strengthen. Basically, just want to say we hope everything continues the way it is or better as opposed to having to go in certain cuts or that.
Yeah, I really appreciate the space of this conversation around programs and what we do offer. And this is where parent voice is really, really important. Excuse me, and I encourage our parents and our kids to use that voice, to offer those recommendations around programs that we do offer inside of our schools. The more voice that we have, there's a greater likelihood that we're going to be able to work towards making it happen inside of our buildings. Resources are always an issue. It's always something that we worry about. But my feeling is it something that the community wants, something that our kids want, then we work through how we can make it happen. It might not happen right away, but it is something that we can put in a space of saying, you know what, this is something that we really need to strive to and for, to make sure that our kids are as excited about learning as possible. And many times it's because they get to experience things in an after-school setting as well, that our kids really look forward to being part of that play, to be part of a coding club in the afternoon. One of our parents, prior to me coming here tonight, through the email address that we have here, did talk about after-school programs and things that we make accessible to our children. And I think the more that our kids use that voice, we're talking about empowering learners. Empowering learners is also about making opportunities for our children to talk about the things that are important to them as learners, so that we can work towards making those happen inside of our buildings. So that's really important that you shared that. Thanks so much for that. Any other areas for us to be mindful of to strengthen?
Work together to provide some more comprehensive programming. A lot of our parents rely on Monday through Friday after school care. So if there's something that could be provided that's perhaps an enrichment opportunity for the students with some local schools together, combining our resources to make sure that the program is consistent. We're able to offer some amazing programs, but it might be Tuesday and Thursday from October until January. And that might not fit with a family's schedule. But if there's something that's Monday through Friday for an hour or two every day after school, we can maintain that. And perhaps one school couldn't do it by themselves, but if we collaborated and said, all right, these schools can work together to create this great program for our kids. And I think also, working towards getting any of those grants that are out there, getting that funding that's available and having it targeted towards District 25, we gladly say yes. Bring it our way, but really tapping those resources might help us a lot.
Yeah, always eager around grants. You know, anyone that has any that they themselves see that they would like us to entertain. You know, always interested in bringing in more resources for our families, for our schools. We do receive some from our local council members, which we're always appreciative of, and CASA being one of them. You know, but there are other grants that are accessible to us that we're going to explore, you know, this school year to support some of those things that you just mentioned. Yeah, Joanne, I love that you just said that. And Wing and Esther are here as part of one of the things that they are going to be working on is to organize a few workshops that are connected to mental health and wellness. At the end of last school year, we did, 3/4 of the way through the school year, we did get some data back from our families that workshops in this area are things that are wanted. So we are in the process of organizing those workshops and those supports for our families in the district. So oftentimes, you know, workshops would be happening inside of our schools. We're going to try to do some of those things also in-house from the district lens. It doesn't always have to be information that comes from a school. It is something that we can do as well and make it accessible to you guys as families, similar to this space. You know, I'm here talking to you, but I'm hopefully talking to a bunch of people at home also in this tour. And a very similar type of thing can happen for us moving forward with resources, i.e. mental health that you just mentioned, Joanna. Any other recommendations, areas to focus on and strengthen? Okay, and the last component is around any advice that you would have for me in this role that I have now assumed since September 5th. Now, what is today? September 19th, 2 weeks into this role as acting superintendent. Any remarks, any comments around things that I should be mindful of as superintendent at this time? Advice, words of advice that you would have for me, I certainly welcome any of those thoughts that you may have. I so appreciate that, and I'm hoping that you said that loud enough for all of our teachers in District 25 to hear. Listen, the job is one that's ever important. You know, I don't think that there's anything that you can put a stamp on to say that we value enough. You know, in general, you know, we certainly at the district level value our teachers in District 25 for the hard work that they put in every single day. But one of the things that you did mention that I think is important for me, while not directly saying it, it's important that I make sure that I message that with enough frequency that folks hear it. You know, sometimes as educators, we do this, we work really, really hard, and, you know, we assume that people appreciate all of that hard work. So for me, one of the pieces that I'm taking from that, although indirectly, is that I have to make sure that I message that out with frequency. So that folks know that we do value the work that they do every day. Because it's never just I'm coming in at 8 o'clock and then leaving at 2:20 and then my day is done. That is not necessarily the case, and certainly not the case in District 25 for the teachers here and the work that they do. So thank you for that. Yeah, and one of the spaces just for parents, for our teachers, for our administrators, it's to open up opportunities during the year for these things to happen. So I know we're scheduled for the first 6 of these during the year, but I do intend to do them again mid-year at some point at different locations, just to connect with our families, for them to hear from me and me to hear from them. And the same for our teachers. Obviously not in an in-person session because we can't fit 2,000 people in any space that we have in our district schools, but through a virtual space, just to kind of hear what it is that others have to say. So, and our children, of course, 100%. Part of my tour will be connecting with kids and listening to what they have to say about their experiences and what they value and want more of here in District 25. And I was at the library for the reopening of their teen space at the Flushing Library, and 4 young ladies from 237 were there. And I asked them about their experience and things that they would want more of. And each one of them said, you know what? I love all of the programs that I have at my school, but I want to do more than just the one that I'm in right now. I love music, but I would love to be part of art also. So those are things that are important for not only me to hear, but for our building leaders to hear as well. Because when we hear those things, it's about how do we make them happen for our children inside of our school communities. These are great comments. I love this. Anyone else? Any thoughts? Any other advice? So I thank all of you guys for being here tonight with me on this first of several Listening to Learn tour spaces. I know sometimes in these types of forums it's difficult to maybe voice your opinion. There are other spaces for you to do that in the event that, I really just didn't feel like speaking in front of a crowd tonight. There are ways for you to do that, so please make sure with the links that we have available to you that you take advantage of sharing your thoughts with us as a district community. If this doesn't work for you and you want to give a call to the district, Esther and Jenny will be there to field those calls to hear some of that feedback from you so that we can, again, really work hard to make the experience for your kids even better. Okay? So I thank you guys for being here. I appreciate your time. And if there's anything that you need from us, please reach out to the district office. Thanks, everyone. And thanks, everyone that's at home, hopefully watching. And if not, hopefully you're watching a recording. And have a wonderful, wonderful night.